It was supposed to be a simple dinner, a casual evening with her family, a chance for me to finally make a good impression. I'd been dating Emma for over a year, and despite the ups and downs we had, I was hopeful this dinner would help solidify our relationship. Her parents were lovely people, warm and welcoming, and I'd always felt comfortable around them. I had no idea tonight would change everything. When I arrived at the restaurant, I could tell something was off. Emma wasn't as enthusiastic as she usually was when we were about to meet her parents. She didn't greet me with her usual excitement, and I could see a hint of frustration in her eyes, though she tried to hide it behind a smile. Her parents, as always, were the picture of kindness, but there was a quiet tension in the air. I brushed it off at first. After all, it had been a long week for both of us. Maybe she was just tired. As the evening progressed, things started to unravel. We were sitting at a small, round table, the kind that makes you feel like you're surrounded by a cozy bubble. Yet tonight, I felt anything but cozy. Her father was talking about his recent trip to the mountains, and her mother was asking me about my work. Everything seemed fine on the surface, but underneath, I could feel a growing unease. Every time I looked at Emma, she seemed more distant, her gaze darting between me and her parents, almost like she was trying to gather her thoughts. And then, without any warning, it happened. The conversation turned to our future, our plans, what we saw for ourselves. Emma's mother smiled warmly at me, asking how things were going with the apartment we were thinking about moving into together. I hesitated, unsure of how to answer. Emma had been distant lately, avoiding conversations about our future. But before I could say anything, she interjected. "I think we should just stop pretending," she said, her voice strangely calm. My heart skipped a beat. Her parents looked at her with concern, but she didn't seem to notice. She turned to me, her eyes no longer soft and loving, but cold and resolute. "I'm better off without you," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I've been thinking about it for a while now, and I just don't think we're right for each other anymore." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I could feel the blood drain from my face. I looked around the table. Her parents were staring at me, caught in the middle of a situation they clearly hadn't anticipated. Her father cleared his throat awkwardly, while her mother looked down at her hands, unsure of what to say. But Emma was unwavering, her face set in a mixture of anger and resolve. I wanted to say something, anything, to change her mind. I wanted to plead, to tell her how much I loved her, how much we'd been through together. But the words stuck in my throat. This wasn't a conversation. It wasn't an argument. It felt like she had already made up her mind, and nothing I said could change it. For a brief moment, I thought about staying, about trying to salvage whatever was left between us. But then I realized something. I deserved better than this. I deserved someone who would fight for me, not someone who would tear me down in front of their parents. I glanced at her parents. They were clearly uncomfortable, their eyes darting between the two of us. It was clear they didn't know how to handle the situation, but I couldn't blame them. This wasn't their fight. I stood up, my chair scraping harshly against the floor. The sound cut through the tension in the air, and for a moment, everything went silent. I could feel Emma's eyes on me, waiting for me to say something, but I didn't. I didn't need to. "I think this is where I leave," I said, my voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions churning inside me. I looked at her parents one last time, offering a polite but hollow smile. "It was nice meeting you both." And then, without another word, I turned and walked out. As I stepped into the cool night air, I felt a strange sense of relief wash over me. It was over. No more pretending. No more uncertainty. It was painful, but I knew it was the right decision. I had spent so much time trying to make things work with her, trying to make her happy, but in the end, I was just another part of the picture she was ready to erase. I didn't look back as I walked to my car. There was nothing to look back at. There was no apology, no explanation, just the empty echo of her words ringing in my ears. "I'm better off without you." And for the first time in a long while, I believed her. I started the engine and drove off into the night, the city lights blurring by as I left behind a chapter of my life I thought I'd never close. The faint hum of the car's engine was the only sound in the otherwise silent world around me. My hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, but not out of anger. More out of a desperate need to hold on to something familiar. Something stable. The soft glow of the streetlights flickered as I passed, their steady rhythm like the heartbeat of the city. But it wasn't enough to quiet the storm inside me. I felt like I was floating, detached from everything that had just happened. Emma's words echoed in my mind, haunting me, each one slicing through me like a sharp blade. "I'm better off without you." They weren't just words. They were final, decisive, as though she had already moved on and expected me to follow suit. I hadn't even been given a chance to explain myself, to try and salvage what little was left between us. And yet, as much as it hurt, a part of me understood. Deep down, I had known something wasn't right for a long time. I had been trying to hold on, to fix something that had already started to unravel long before tonight. The city outside my window was a blur, a constant stream of lights and shadows that seemed to reflect the chaos in my mind. I drove aimlessly, not really caring where I was headed. The familiar streets of my neighborhood, the places we used to walk together, now felt foreign. Everywhere I looked, there were memories. Every corner, every turn, brought back moments I once cherished. Her laughter, her smile, the quiet nights spent watching movies. Those little things that had once felt like the world. Now, they felt like ghosts, fading as quickly as the headlights that passed me by. But in that painful silence, something else was starting to emerge. A realization. I didn't need to be in this pain. I didn't need to keep chasing after someone who had already decided their path without me. I had lost myself in the process. As I passed the outskirts of the city, the lights became fewer, the streets quieter. I could feel the tension in my chest slowly starting to ease. I wasn't sure where I was going. But the further I drove, the lighter I felt. Maybe it was the physical distance. Or maybe it was the emotional space I was starting to create. Tomorrow was a new day, and I had a chance to start fresh. Maybe I didn't know where life would take me, but for the first time in a long time, I was ready to find out. If you like this story, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more.